In the midst of a freezing winter night, two little girls huddled together under a single, worn-out coat, shivering as the icy wind whipped around them. Harper and Maisie, only 7 years old, clung to each other for warmth, whispering about a mother they could no longer find and a world that seemed too cold to care. Their tiny hearts beat with fear, loneliness, and hope, intertwined in a moment that would change everything. From the shadows of the snowy street emerged Michael Grayson, a lonely millionaire who carried grief heavier than any winter coat. He didn't know it yet, but fate had placed these two fragile lives in his path. In that instant, the warmth of kindness collided with the chill of despair, igniting a story of courage, love, and second chances. Stay with us and witness how a single choice can reshape destiny. Subscribe to the Retold stories. Snow fell relentlessly over Willow Creek, blanketing everything in white, muffling sound, and freezing the air in a harsh grip. Two small figures huddled together on a lonely bench, wrapped in a single thin coat. Harper and Maisie Lane, twin sisters just 7 years old, pressed against each other, their tiny hands red and raw, teeth chattering as they tried to withstand the icy wind. The world felt impossibly large and terrifying. Each snowflake that landed on their cheeks seemed to whisper how alone they were. Harper held Maisie closer, her mind spinning with memories of warmth, laughter, and cinnamon-scented kitchens memories that now seemed like dreams from a life that no longer existed. Maisie shivered violently, wiping tears that froze before they could roll down her cheeks. "If only Mommy was here, we'd be warm," she whispered, a tremor in her voice betraying her fear. Harper said nothing, gripping her sister tighter, refusing to let despair take over completely. Across town, Michael Grayson sat in his SUV, watching the snow swirl against the windshield. The vehicle was warm, almost absurdly so, but it did little to thaw the cold gnawing in his chest. Years had passed since the tragic loss of his wife and child, yet grief had become a shadow, living in his bones, cold and unrelenting. The board meeting notifications, missed calls, and voicemails on his phone buzzed endlessly, reminders of a life that had once consumed him. He should have stayed lost in his routine, in his isolation, yet fate had other plans. As the headlights cut through the swirling snow, two tiny shapes emerged, hunched together on the roadside. Time seemed to slow. His breath caught. They were not ghosts, only children trembling in the snow. The memory of what he had lost collided with the reality before him, leaving him stunned. Instinctively, Michael slammed on the brakes, tires crunching on the frozen road, and stepped out into the storm. Boots sinking into the snow, he approached cautiously, voice trembling with concern. "Hey, are you all right?" Harper's sharp, blue eyes locked onto his, a mix of fear and defiance in their gaze. Maisie pressed against Harper, trying to disappear. Michael knelt, careful not to frighten them further. "I won't hurt you. I just want to help. Can you tell me your names?" Harper hesitated, voice barely audible. "I'm Harper. This is my sister Maisie." The girl's wary eyes scanned his expensive coat, neat hair, and unfamiliar face, seeing both danger and hope intertwined. Harper's lips pressed together, shaking from cold more than anything else. "We don't need help," she said. Her small voice carried both fear and courage. Michael's heart twisted. The snow blew against his face, biting cold that contrasted sharply with the warmth building inside him. "Please," he urged gently. "It's freezing. I have a warm car. I can take you someplace safe." For a moment, silence reigned. The wind rattled the street lamps, the snow falling heavy, covering every sound. Harper's resolve faltered under exhaustion. Finally, she nodded, too tired to argue. Michael scooped Maisie first, then guided Harper into the SUV, wrapping them in blankets and offering warmth and comfort. Maisie recoiled at first, hesitant to trust, but Harper's protective grip reassured her. Michael's words stumbled out. "You're safe here. I'll take care of you. No one will leave you out in this storm." Inside the vehicle, the small warmth from blankets and the heater was nothing compared to the spark of connection forming. Michael noticed the girl's trembling hands, their hollow cheeks and hollow eyes, and something inside him shifted. This was no longer someone else's problem. This was his. The storm outside became a quiet backdrop to a moment of profound significance. the beginning of trust, of care, and of a bond forged in the coldest night. As the journey continued to the local clinic, the girls remained close, silent but attentive, while Michael wrestled with a mix of grief and awakening purpose. Here were children, vulnerable yet resilient, teaching him lessons he hadn't known he needed. At the clinic, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, stark against the dull, cold linoleum. Nurses moved efficiently, yet their presence couldn't erase the tension. Harper and Maisie curled together on the exam table, wrapped in the scratchy blankets Michael had brought. Harper watched every nurse, suspicious and guarded, while Maisie clung to her sister, hesitant to engage. The examination revealed no frostbite, but showed undernourishment and the strain of trauma. Small gestures, a mug of cocoa, a gentle word were met with tiny signs of acceptance, a pinky finger curling around Michael's gloved hand. A fragile thread of trust began to form, delicate as a snowflake. The social worker, Ruth Daniels, arrived, bringing professional skepticism tempered by observation. Michael's actions spoke louder than explanations, showing that he would not abandon them. Questions about their living situation came, but Harper shielded her sister, holding secrets of neglect close. Michael's presence, patient and unwavering, became a lifeline. He dropped reminders of his corporate life, emails, calls, meetings. None mattered in this moment. For the first time in years, someone else's safety, someone else's hope, became his priority. Even in the face of doubt and fear, the girls sensed it. Small touches, shared warmth, and protective gestures signaled that not all strangers were threats. Slowly, the frozen walls surrounding Harper and Maisie's hearts began to melt. Night fell, and the storm continued, yet in the cramped motel room where Michael settled the girls, a different kind of warmth emerged. Blankets piled high, small meals arranged carefully, and gentle encouragement began to foster comfort. Harper's protective demeanor softened slightly. Maisie's laughter, quiet and tentative, filled spaces previously dominated by fear. Michael reflected on the contrast between his former life, luxury, isolation, perfection, and the richness of connection unfolding before him. These children were no longer invisible, no longer alone, and in protecting them, Michael found a reason to hope again. Moments of small trust, quiet bonding, and simple human kindness formed the foundation of something enduring. In the snow's wake, a new chapter had begun. The morning after the storm brought a pale, weak sunlight over Willow Creek, brushing the snow-dusted streets with hints of promise. Inside the small motel room, Harper and Maisie lay huddled under a pile of blankets, their faces still rosy from the cold, but calmer than the night before. Michael Grayson, sitting on the edge of the bed, watched them quietly, savoring the rare peace. The girls were safe, warm, and alive, and for the first time in years, he felt the weight of responsibility, not as a burden, but as purpose. This fragile trust was something he would nurture with patience, care, and unwavering attention. Over the play, next hours, routines began to form. Harper, cautious and ever protective, moved slowly, observing every action Michael took. Maisie, timid but curious, allowed herself small comforts, a sip of warm cocoa, a soft blanket tucked around her shoulders. Each gesture was met with a mix of skepticism and hope, the twins learning that safety was not an illusion. Michael refrained from imposing, instead asking gentle questions, offering choices, and respecting their boundaries. Every yes earned, every tiny smile shared, was a victory. He realized that trust, like the thawing snow outside, could not be forced. It had to come naturally, with time and consistency. Ruth Daniels, the social worker, became a steady presence. She guided Michael through legal necessities and child welfare procedures, yet she also observed the human side of his efforts, the tenderness in the way he adjusted the blankets, the patience in the way he answered endless questions, the quiet vigilance in watching over the girls. Harper's wariness slowly softened under this collective care, while Maisie's timid glances turned into brief, trusting smiles. They began to respond to the idea that adults could be reliable, nurturing, and protective. Michael learned to recognize these tiny victories, cherishing each step forward. It was during small, seemingly mundane moments that trust deepened. Harper, insisting on finishing her sister's meal first, was beginning to demonstrate the delicate balance of care and survival she had practiced for years. Maisie, clinging to her sister, began to engage, reaching for food, touching Michael's hand when reassured. Each interaction, however minor, built the foundation for something larger, a connection that transcended fear. Michael found himself adjusting his own routines, his corporate priorities fading into the background. Meetings, calls, emails, all could wait. This was urgent, important, and profoundly human. The building of trust between two little girls and the man who had chosen to stand beside them. Days passed with the rhythm of gentle routines. Michael guided the girls through small, practical steps: proper clothing, meals, hygiene, and comfort. He purchased new hats, blankets, and art supplies, encouraging the girls to express themselves. Harper carefully selected a bright red knit hat, holding it like a precious token, while Maisie buried herself in a thick, soft fleece blanket, giggling at the new textures. Together, they drew, colored, and crafted stories, slowly transforming the motel room from a place of refuge into a space of imagination, security, and connection. Laughter, quiet at first, began to punctuate the still air, signaling the first true signs of emotional safety. Michael's efforts extended beyond the physical. He spoke gently, offered choices, and showed respect for the girls' feelings and fears. Harper's skepticism remained, but cracks appeared in her armor. Maisie, more sensitive and observant, began to anticipate care, to seek reassurance in small ways. The twins' bond with Michael grew stronger, a mix of gratitude, curiosity, and emerging affection. Each morning, each shared meal, and each carefully guided activity added layers to the fragile but growing foundation of trust. Michael learned to listen, to observe, and to respond in ways that honored their autonomy, yet offered protection. The arrival of Eleanor Pierce, the elderly neighbor, brought further depth. She offered family photographs, insights into the girls' past, and encouragement, reminding Michael of the importance of preserving memory and legacy. Harper and Maisie cautiously accepted her presence, gradually opening up, sharing small pieces of their past. Michael recognized the delicate balance between preserving safety and encouraging disclosure. He handled each moment with sensitivity, reinforcing that trust was reciprocal and voluntary. Challenges arose as the girls faced reminders of their past. Ray, Coleman, the neglectful stepfather, lingered in their narrative, a threat to be acknowledged and addressed. Michael's protective instincts intensified, his presence a barrier between the girls and the dangers they had endured. Social services intervened, and the legal process began, yet Michael remained their anchor, ensuring stability and continuity. Harper and Maisie, once tentative and defensive, began to exhibit courage in small ways, sharing memories, participating in routines, and trusting Michael to act in their best interest. The process of trust building extended into play and creativity. Harper's careful planning, Maisie's expressive drawings, and Michael's active involvement created a dynamic environment where the girls felt heard, valued, and safe. Each drawing, each story, each careful interaction became a testament to resilience and the power of consistent care. Michael's former life, defined by wealth and solitude, became secondary to these moments of human connection. He discovered a new form of richness, measured not in assets, but in trust earned and nurtured. By the end of the second week, the transformation was visible. Harper's protective instincts were still strong, but she allowed moments of vulnerability. Maisie's laughter was more frequent, her gestures more open. Michael's dedication had created a space where fear had given way to hope. The twins' eyes reflected trust, the beginnings of attachment, and the recognition that adults could indeed be safe, loving, and reliable. Michael himself felt a thawing of the grief that had long consumed him, replaced by a sense of purpose and belonging. The building of trust, delicate and demanding, had begun to change all their lives. The storm outside had finally begun to wane, leaving Willow Creek wrapped in a quiet, snow-dusted hush. Inside the small motel room, the atmosphere had transformed. What had once been a place of fear and uncertainty now hummed with tentative laughter, soft conversation, and the rhythm of a new routine. Harper and Maisie, twin sisters who had endured more than most children could imagine, began to settle into the safety Michael Grayson had provided. He had become more than a guardian. He was a constant presence, a protector, and a bridge to the family they had lost. Michael watched the girls carefully, noting their small gestures, the ways they began to explore their environment with curiosity instead of caution. Harper, still cautious but more willing to engage, helped Maisie navigate meals, clothing, and small tasks. Maisie, once timid and reserved, allowed herself moments of play and expression, her laughter breaking through the lingering shadows of fear. Together, the girls began to reclaim pieces of their childhood, their bond with Michael strengthening as trust deepened. Each shared story, each quiet laugh, each artistic creation became a testament to resilience and the healing power of connection. The arrival of David Lane, the twins' father, marked a turning point. Initially confused and fragile, having lost his memory and time with his daughters, David's reunion with Harper and Maisie was both tender and overwhelming. The girls, hesitant at first, slowly allowed him into their hearts. Michael remained beside them, supporting the reunion with quiet strength, ensuring the process was gentle and safe. Tears flowed freely, but so did laughter, hope, and recognition. In that moment, 3 lives began to intertwine, forming a foundation of love and commitment that transcended the hardships of the past. As the days passed, routines solidified. The small motel room became a hub of activity, filled with drawings, journals, and laughter. Harper and Maisie began to open up, sharing memories of their mother, the joys and fears of their past, and the aspirations for their future. Michael guided these moments with patience, reinforcing their sense of security and belonging. He encouraged the girls to express themselves, fostering creativity and resilience. Meals were shared with gratitude and conversation. Playtime became a lesson in collaboration, empathy, and trust. The room, once cold and intimidating, now radiated warmth and safety. Outside, the world continued to thaw as spring approached. Snow melted into puddles, trees began to bud, and sunlight lingered longer across the town. Michael took the girls on walks, to thrift stores, and for small excursions, allowing them to experience freedom and joy safely. Harper and Maisie reveled in these outings, choosing hats, blankets, and art supplies, treasures that symbolized new beginnings. Each small gift and moment reinforced their sense of self-worth and the security of the bonds being formed. Michael observed, silently marveling at their resilience and capacity for trust, realizing that these experiences were reshaping his own understanding of life, love, and family. The arrival of supportive figures, Ruth Daniels, Eleanor Pierce, and caring neighbors, reinforced the sense of community and protection. The girls learned that adults could be allies, friends, and mentors, and that help could arrive without threat or expectation. Through these interactions, Harper and Maisie began to envision a future where their voices mattered and their safety was assured. Michael's dedication became a model of consistent care, showing that family could be chosen, nurtured, and rebuilt, even after trauma. The fragile threads of trust spun over the first days began to form a strong fabric of security and affection. The twins' connection with David strengthened daily. Michael, mindful of the girls' needs and the delicate nature of reintegration, supported moments of bonding, play, and storytelling. Shared meals, bedtime routines, and creative projects created stability. Harper and Maisie began to laugh without hesitation, dream without fear, and engage in acts of kindness and expression. Michael's role as a steady, caring adult allowed them to reclaim innocence lost too early, and the girls' presence in his life rekindled hope, joy, and purpose he thought long gone. The storm, once a symbol of isolation and fear, had been replaced by the warmth of human connection. Over time, the family began to envision a home beyond the motel, a place of permanence, safety, and growth. David, regaining strength and memory, participated fully in daily routines and caregiving. Michael's support ensured that the transition would be gradual, thoughtful, and nurturing. Together, the three built traditions: shared meals, evening stories, art projects, and small celebrations. Each act, no matter how small, cemented the sense of belonging, trust, and love. Harper and Maisie flourished, embracing their place within this newly formed family, Michael's own life transformed. Once defined by solitude, loss, and corporate pursuits, it now centered on relationships, empathy, and presence. The small victories, the first smiles, a shared drawing, a soft laugh replaced the hollow achievements of the past. Harper and Maisie had not only been saved from the storm and neglect, but had rescued Michael from isolation and despair. Through their resilience, trust, and love, all three discovered the profound power of connection, the importance of unwavering support, and the meaning of family that is built on choice, commitment, and compassion. Evenings settled into quiet moments of reflection. Harper, Maisie, and Michael would gather by the window, watching sunlight filter through budding trees, the air warm and alive with possibility. Stories were shared, lessons in trust reinforced, and laughter became the soundtrack of daily life. Through patience, care, and steadfast presence, the frozen hearts had thawed, allowing hope, love, and belonging to take root. What had begun as a chance encounter in the snow became a lifelong journey of connection and healing, proving that sometimes family is created not by blood but by those who refuse to walk away. In the quiet aftermath of the storm, as Willow Creek slowly emerged from its winter slumber, the lives of Harper, Maisie, and Michael had been irrevocably changed. What began as a frozen night, filled with fear, loneliness, and uncertainty, had blossomed into a story of trust, courage, and love. Michael Grayson, once a man isolated by grief and loss, discovered a purpose far greater than wealth or status: the protection and nurturing of two young lives who had known only hardship. In return, the twins offered him hope, warmth, and the realization that human connection could heal wounds thought permanent. Through careful attention, patience, and unwavering presence, Michael had built an environment of safety and love. Harper's protective instincts softened as trust grew, and Maisie's laughter and curiosity flourished in the warmth of consistent care. Small acts, a shared blanket, a gentle word, a cup of cocoa became the foundation of a bond stronger than fear or trauma. Each day brought new milestones, new joys, and a deeper sense of belonging. With every interaction, the girls' sense of security strengthened, proving that resilience can thrive when nurtured with compassion and understanding. The arrival of David Lane, the twins' father, completed a circle of hope. The family's reunion, filled with tears, laughter, and cautious joy, symbolized the power of second chances. Michael's role as protector and guide remained steadfast, ensuring that the girls could explore trust and love without fear. Together, they built routines, celebrated small victories, and embraced the simple pleasures of daily life. Drawings, stories, shared meals, and quiet moments by the window became symbols of renewal, a testament to the transformative power of love and dedication. Ultimately, this story is more than a tale of survival. It is a celebration of humanity at its best. It reminds us that one act of kindness can ripple outward, changing lives in ways that cannot be measured. Harper and Maisie, once invisible in the cold, had been seen, heard, and cherished. Michael, once lost in grief, found family, hope, and purpose. The snow, once a symbol of isolation and danger, had given way to warmth, laughter, and the promise of a brighter future. If this story has touched your heart even a little, remember that every choice matters. Every act of courage, love, or selflessness can create change. Harper, Maisie, and Michael's journey shows that family is not only defined by blood, it is built through trust, care, and the willingness to stay when it matters most. And so, as the sun rises over Willow Creek and the laughter of children fills the air, we are reminded that hope, once found, can bloom again and again. Subscribe to the Retold Stories and stay with us as we continue to share stories of resilience, love, and the quiet heroes who make the world a better place.